Okay, we are live. Hey, my trendy trendsetters and my trendy tribe, and my reasonable doubters, because we are also streaming from Legal at some point as well. So if you see some stuff pop up in the chat, but you don't see it in your side of the chat, they might be on the other side. But please support Legal at some point for the legal topics. I definitely appreciate y'all. And we're going to go get right into it. Quick blurb is that Capital One is being sued because it was found that they have allegedly cheated consumers out of about $2 billion. I saw that it was interest related, but we're gonna go through the factual allegations together because I did not read through this document beforehand. So it'll be interesting for both of us. But what's crazy is when the lawsuit was filed against them on January 14th, there also started being reports of they were having technical issues with people's direct deposits to their bank. So, yeah. so, quick hellos. Hold on one second. Let me say hey. So, first in the building was Demi. Demi working on her lot customers. Shout out to the lot customers. Hey, y'all. Hey, Betty Mac. We got Miss Lady One. I saw Bama Girl, Beautiful Miami J, Hey Delois, Hill 75, Driving and Listening, Teresa Wright, Sound Check Annette, Hey Ann Green. Okay, so we'll get started. And so I'm just going to read through the document. And that's, I might have a couple thoughts, but it's mostly so we can just see what is this about. So the plaintiff is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and the defendants are Capital One Financial Corporation and Capital One National Association. And they do demand for a jury trial. I've noticed a lot of these go to settlement before it gets to the jury, but they do demand a jury trial. Okay, so it says, for introduction, Capital One illegally avoided paying billions in interest to millions of consumers who held its flagship high-interest savings account, 360 Savings. After promising 360 Savings account holders that 360 Savings provided one of the nation's best interest rates, it froze the rate at a low level during a period when interest rates were rising nationwide. Around the same time, the bank created a new product, 360 Performance Savings, which was identical to 360 Savings in every way other than its substantially higher interest rate, then obscured the new product's existence from 360 Savings account holders to avoid paying them its higher interest. Okay, so they named a product really close that didn't have that same crucial benefit and caused confusion and probably let me stop looking at that. Okay. So then it says specifically, Capital One promised consumers that 360 Savings provided one of the nation's top, best, and highest interest rates, and that by opening a 360 Savings account, their savings would earn much more in interest than it would in an average savings or money market account. These representations led 360 Savings account holders to believe they would not have to closely monitor their account's rate because they could rely on Capital One to deliver on its promises. Capital One also made representations that created the net impression that 360 Savings was and would be the bank's only high-interest savings product of its kind. It says that in 2019, without notice to 360 Savings account holders, Capital One ceased offering 360 Savings to new customers and replaced it with a new high-yield savings product, 360 Performance Savings. This new savings product was identical to 360 Savings in every material way. The bank marketed both products as high interest or high yield online savings accounts and gave them the same terms and conditions, including a variable interest rate, no minimum balance, and no monthly fees, with one exception. 360 Performance Savings has always had a substantially higher interest rate. In July 2024, for instance, the 360 Performance Savings rate was over 14 times the 360 Savings rate. Capital One worked to keep 360 Savings account holders in the dark about 360 Performance Savings' existence as a distinct savings product with a higher rate. The bank gave the two products similar names and marketed 360 Performance Savings as it had 360 Savings. It eliminated references to 360 Savings on its website and replace them with references to 360 performance savings without disclosing that 360 savings continued to exist as a distinct product, thus implying the products were the same. It did not specifically notify 360 savings account holders about the new product and excluded 360 savings account holders from a marketing campaign that advertised 360 performance savings to Capital One's other customers. And it explicitly forbade its employees from proactively telling 360 savings account holders about 360 performance savings. Oh, trifling, trifling. Okay. As a result of Capital One's actions, 360 savings account holders either were not aware of 360 performance savings or were misled into believing their 360 savings accounts were 360 performance savings accounts with the higher rate. So when you're seeing these rates come out, if you're on the 360 savings and not the performance savings, you're thinking if you see these higher rates, that's what you're getting for that time because they told you they would maximize. Wow. I'm not surprised. Not surprised. In the meantime, starting in December 2020 and continuing until at least August 2024, the bank froze the 360 savings rate at 0.30%, even as savings account interest rates across the country rose sharply starting in early 2022. Hold on one second, y'all. All right. Sorry. He brought in, see Taco Bell over here. I don't know when I'm gonna get to eat it. It's gonna get cold. I don't know why I asked for it this early. Okay. Hold on. Hold on one second. Let me move this over here. Lord. All right. So where am I at? Okay, so by December 2022, 0.30% was at or below the national average money market and savings account rates published by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, or the FDIC. By contrast, between April 2022 and August 2024, the bank increased the 360 performance savings rate from 0.4% to 4.25%. Oh, wow. So it was the performance savings rate increased from 0.40% to 4.25%. Accordingly, for roughly the last 2 years, 360 savings account holders have not earned a rate that meets the promises Capital One made in its marketing materials. Capital One's misconduct allowed it to use 360 performance savings to attract new deposits to fund its other banking activities without having to pay existing 360 savings account holders the interest the bank had promised they would earn from 360 savings. Because millions of 360 savings account holders never opened 360 performance savings accounts, the bank has avoided paying over $2 billion in interest to these account holders. By failing to fulfill the consumer expectations it created, Capital One violated the CFPA's prohibition on deceptive and abusive acts and practices, TISA, and Regulation DD. The Bureau thus brings its action to halt the bank's illegal conduct, provide redress to consumers, and obtain appropriate penalties and other relief. So they were just going and going and going. Okay, it says the Bureau is an independent agency of the United States charged with regulating the offering and provision of consumer financial products or services under the federal consumer financial laws. Yeah, wow. Right, Bella girl. Hey Sharon, hey Peaches and Cream. Yes, I'm telling you. Okay, so we're gonna go down. So they're obviously saying who the parties are. I'm gonna go keep going down. Here's their factual allegations. And I know I saw at least one screenshot so y'all can see how they market it on their website. But it says Capital One represented that 360 Savings was a high interest savings account that provided one of the nation's highest savings rates and would earn much more interest than the average savings or money market account. In 2012, COFC acquired the online bank ING Direct USA and its assets, including its online savings product, ING Direct. ING Direct had been known for having higher than average interest rates. Did y'all know about ING Direct? Ooh, you good. Okay, naturally be yourself. Now keep an eye on them because they're not honest, but you got the one that is the good one right now. Ooh, wee. Okay. So it says in 2013, Capital One rebranded ING Direct as 360 Savings, made ING Direct savings account holders 360 savings account holders, and commenced offering 360 savings accounts to the general public. Many ING Direct savings account holders who became 360 savings account holders after COFC's acquisition likely opened ING Direct savings accounts because of ING's Direct's high interest rates. Capital One assured former ING Direct savings account holders that with 360 Savings, they would still have great rates. It also pledged on its website that it would continue to be home to no fee, no minimum checking and savings accounts with the great rates that we know are important to you. That's what's quoted. You got 2 Capital One cards, Butter? Well, oh Lord, I don't know. I know they're not the only ones. Wells Fargo went through their deceptive practices. We're not safe out here, It says between 2013 and 2019, Capital One marketed 360 Savings as a high interest online savings account with great rates. Consumers reasonably understand high interest savings accounts to refer to a specific type of savings product that is distinct from traditional savings accounts in at least one significant way. High interest savings accounts have interest rates that are many times higher than traditional savings account rates. As Capital One's website has explained since at least 2019, there is a difference between a traditional savings account and a high interest or high yield savings account. It's all about the interest. Simply put, the website states a high yield savings account, sometimes called a high interest savings account, is a bank account that often has a higher interest rate or annual percentage yield than a traditional savings account. Other bank and consumer finance websites that explain that the rates on high interest or high yield savings accounts can be as much as 15 times higher than the FDIC national average savings account rate and 10 to 12 times higher than traditional savings accounts rates. From 2013 to at least 2016, Capital One's website, which COFC maintains with Kona, included a web page for the 360 Savings account. The 360 Savings webpage described the product as an online savings account with high interest, no fees, and no minimum balance requirement. The webpage also featured a chart comparing the 360 Savings APY with what Capital One represented were national average savings and money market APYs. That chart consistently showed the 360 Savings APY as substantially higher than the national average savings and money market APYs. And it says figures 1 and 2 below show portions of the 360 Savings webpage as of April 2013 and December 2016, respectively. So here's one image. And it says, watch your savings grow. Earn a variable 0.75% annual percentage yield. The 360 Savings account has high interest, no fees, no minimum. All your money goes to work for you. Let me see what else I want to see. Here's the little chart that shows that they're significantly higher than the average money market account or savings account. Let me see. They have a little demo down here for the 360 Savings account. And it says Savings Central. Want to maximize your savings? Set up a free automatic savings plan that allows you to have a fixed amount of money regularly transferred to your high interest 360 Savings account from your linked checking account. And then this figure where they changed. Let's see here. I'm looking for high interest savings account again. It shows 0.75% APY. Easy way to stash cash. I'm looking for, and there's the little chart again now it's on the right hand side, but there it shows again compared to a regular savings account and the 360 savings account. Okay, so we'll keep going. So from May 2013 to at least March 2016, Capital One's website also promised that 360 Savings has no fees, no minimums, and no catches. Your money will earn much more than what it would in an average savings or money market account. What's the catch? There is none. That's what their website said. What's the catch? There is none. It says figure 3 shows a portion of the webpage in 2013. And there it is. What's the catch? There is none. That's what it says right there. From April 2016 to February 2018, the webpage made the similar commitment that our two savings products, 360 Savings and 360 Money Market, have no fees, no minimums, and no catches. Your money will earn much more than what it would in an average savings or money market account. What's the catch? There is none. And it says figure 4 shows a portion from the webpage in January 2018. It still says what's the catch? There is none. From at least November 2017 to January 2019, Capital One's webpage for 360 Savings featured a review from a Capital One customer that described the 360 Savings interest rate as unmatched. What Peaches and Cream say? Okay, check at least to see, do you have 360 Savings or 360 Performance Savings? I don't know if you switch either way at this point because of them having the deceptive practice, but the 360 Performance Saving is giving better interest rates than their 360 Savings. So yeah, check on that. Okay, you said you checked it recently? Okay. And it says Capital One marketed 360 Savings as a high interest savings account beyond its website. For example, between 2013 and 2019, the bank sent numerous consumers mailers and emails that advertised 360 Savings as a high interest account with a better everyday interest rate, a great everyday rate, a top savings rate, one of the nation's highest savings rates, and one of the nation's best savings rates. Likewise, in a 2018 mailer campaign encouraging consumers to deposit their tax refunds in 360 savings accounts, Capital One described the 360 savings interest rate as one of the nation's top savings rates, one of the nation's best savings rates, and one of the nation's highest savings rates. Thus, although Capital One sets the 360 savings interest rate and per its account disclosures can change the rate at its discretion, it was reasonable for consumers to interpret the bank's representations about the 360 savings rate to mean that the bank would use its discretion. Sorry, I thought the sentence ended. Would use its discretion to ensure that the rate was at a level that fulfilled the promises described above. It was reasonable for consumers to expect that the bank's representations about the 360 savings rate would remain true over the entire period that 360 savings account holders held their accounts. Section B, Capital One represented that the 360 savings interest rate would vary based on market conditions and competition. Capital One also repeatedly represented that it would adjust the 360 savings rate in accordance with market conditions. For example, in 2018, Capital One directed its customer service reps to tell consumers, including 360 savings account holders, that the 360 savings rate was based on current market conditions and our competition. When national interest rates went down, Capital One told consumers that this decline would affect their rates. In 2019, the bank directed its customer service reps to tell consumers who inquired about the bank's interest rates, including 360 savings account holders, the following. You may have heard on the news that Federal Reserve rates are moving downward, which affects everything from mortgages to savings accounts. Because of these new market conditions, we've adjusted our deposit account rates. And then when national interest rates went up, Capital One told consumers that the increase would affect their rates. In 2022, the bank altered its instructions to its customer service reps, telling them to state the following. You may have heard on the news that Federal Reserve rates are moving upward, which affects everything from mortgages to savings accounts. Because of these new market conditions, we've adjusted our deposit account rates. In 2023, Capital One instructed associates to tell consumers, including 360 savings account holders, that due to current market conditions, we've adjusted our deposit account rates and that changes in interest rates tend to track market rates. Okay, you have the regular. Okay, if you stand with Capital One, get that 360 Performance then, Peaches and Cream, because you're the one that you can probably go ahead and join this consumer claim for when they settle, because you are the victim listed in here. Look, Kim said I have a Capital One 360 savings. I put money in it and forget about it. I feel it's not earning like they said it would. Yeah, Kim, go ahead and look for the law firm that is, and it'll probably list it at the bottom to make it easier too. So I'll try to remember to go all the way to the bottom to look at the law firm that's doing this. But y'all need to go ahead and put your claim in, because if you have the 360 savings and not the 360 Performance Savings, they're literally talking about y'all being cheated. So yeah, go ahead and talk to them, or contact them. It says consumers opened and maintained 360 savings accounts based on Capital One's representations that 360 savings had a high interest rate that varied based on market conditions and the rates offered by competitors' savings products. It was reasonable for consumers to interpret those representations to mean that the 360 savings rate would increase when interest rates rose more generally. I would also think that change with the market, decline, decline, change with the market, increase, increase. That's what I would think too. Capital One gave consumers further reason to expect 360 Savings to perform in this way by following through on its representations from 2013 to 2019. During this period, the product's interest rate varied with and often outperformed the federal funds rate and exceeded the national average savings and money market account interest rates published by the FDIC. So not only did they give people a reason to believe that would make sense, that it would go up with the market, down with the market, they actually were honoring it at some years. So to know that that's how y'all were doing your practice, and then you changed. Section C, Capital One represented that 360 Savings was and would be the bank's only high interest savings product of its kind. From 2013 to 2019, Capital One marketed 360 Savings as the bank's only high interest savings account of its kind, i.e., number one, a high interest online non-retirement savings account for adults with a variable rate, no monthly fees, no minimum balance requirement, and no rate tiers. Number two, under the 360 brand name. And number three, for which Capital One would provide an interest rate that was great and one of the nation's top or best rates. On the Capital One website or web pages that listed the bank's savings products and allowed consumers to compare products, 360 Savings was the only account with all these features. As described above, Capital One marketed the 360 Savings account as providing, among other things, an interest rate that was great and one of the nation's top or best rates. In its marketing materials, Capital One referred to 360 Savings as 360 Savings, the online savings account from Capital One 360, and the 360 Savings account. These representations gave the net impression that the 360 Savings product was and would be Capital One's only high-interest online non-retirement savings account for adults with a variable rate, no monthly fees, no minimum balance requirement, and no rate tiers under the 360 brand name, for which Capital One would provide an interest rate that was great and one of the nation's top or best rates. It would not make any sense for a bank to characterize a product's interest rate as high, great, and one of the nation's top and best rates if the rate was far below the interest rate for another savings product that the same bank offered and also characterized the same way. That is facts. That wouldn't make sense. They would go against what they just marketed. It says, before launching 360 Performance Savings, Capital One did not adequately disclose to 360 Savings account holders that 360 Savings would no longer be its only high interest savings account with the features described in paragraph 46, because the bank was launching 360 Performance Savings and the new product would have materially the same terms, conditions, and features as 360 Savings, except for a substantially higher interest rate. Hey, little sis. She said, hey, sexy slim. I'm done with you. How you doing? Capital One led 360 savings account holders to believe they did not need to closely monitor the rate on their accounts. Capital One led 360 savings account holders to believe they could treat their accounts as long-term, passive being the key word, passive savings vehicles that did not require routine monitoring because they said they would go with the market anyway. That's what they had guaranteed. So, yeah. It was reasonable for 360 Savings account holders to interpret Capital One's representations that 360 Savings was a high interest account with a better everyday interest rate, a great everyday rate, a top savings rate, one of the nation's highest savings rates, and one of the nation's best savings rates, and that 360 Savings would earn much more in interest than an average savings or money market account, to mean they would not have to closely monitor their account's interest rate because they could rely on Capital One to deliver on its promises. And that's the big thing, because the defense with Capital One, I would think, is that they would try to say, uh-oh, Oh, Lord. Hold on, y'all. Let me take my screen down for a second. This thing, I don't know if I have to renew permission every now and again. I don't know. But okay, it's back. But I'm trying to free PDF reader service, and that's just what it did. But what was I gonna say? Oh, Capital One's defenses would probably be, we expect the reasonable person to monitor their savings account for the interest rates to be changing. And if they're not happy, they could just, switch to something else. But Capital One has given the impression that the whole point is you can be passive, you can trust them to go along at least with the market. But I could see them trying to say that the consumer still holds the responsibility, and maybe they even tried to put that in their terms and conditions too. But deceptive practices. Okay. Capital One made additional representations that reinforced this interpretation. In 2017, for instance, Capital One's website told consumers that 360 Savings had a competitive rate you can bank on. In 2017 and 2018, when the bank raised the 360 Savings rate, it assured account holders that there's nothing for you to do. Just sit back and enjoy the extra interest. Oh, well, there you go. There's nothing for you to do. Just sit back and enjoy the extra interest. From 2013 through at least 2018, Capital One encouraged 360 Savings account holders to set up automatic transfers to their accounts as a way to put their savings or money on autopilot, kick back and relax and save up, further reinforcing the impression that 360 Savings was a long-term passive savings vehicle that did not require routine monitoring. As a result of these representations, many 360 Savings account holders did not closely monitor their account's interest rate. Moreover, Capital One knew savings account holders typically do not monitor their accounts. Sometime before October 2022, the bank commissioned a survey to identify, among other things, how frequently consumers check their savings accounts and how many of them knew that their savings account or knew what their savings account interest rate was. In October 2022, the bank publicized its findings. 57% of respondents only check their savings account less than once a month or not at all, and nearly half, 48% of respondents, don't know what their savings account interest rate is. Kim said, that's exactly what was said. That's why I opened an account. Yep. Hey, Leia's Grandma Plus One. Section E. Capital One launched a new high-yield savings product, 360 Performance Savings, which was the same as 360 Savings in all ways other than its higher interest rate. In September 2019, Capital One began offering a new online high-yield savings product called 360 Performance Savings. And y'all already, now there's a few things already as soon as we opened up the lawsuit, but naming the product so similar that you could be confused, the consumer could be confused, then telling representatives they could not proactively market the new product with higher yield interest rates. That's wrong. That's crazy. As described in paragraph 26 on its website, Capital One has consistently explained that high yield savings account and high interest savings account are interchangeable terms. Around the same time that it began offering 360 Performance Savings, Capital One stopped offering or opening new 360 savings accounts. That was the original one. 360 Performance Savings was the same as 360 Savings in all material ways except for its higher interest rate. Like 360 Savings, 360 Performance Savings was and is an online, high-interest, non-retirement savings account for adults with a variable rate, no monthly fees, no minimum balance requirement, and no rate tiers. And that actually sounds really good. Like, I would want an account like that. So y'all, go ahead, and if you know of another bank that's actually following the market and doing right, let me know, because I need to get one of these accounts. Capital One's terms and conditions for 360 Performance Savings were and are materially the same as those for 360 Savings. Both products, for example, have consistently had the same terms and conditions for account eligibility, account ownership, example, individual account, joint account with a minor, minimum required balance, none, account fees, no monthly maintenance fees, but wire and account statement fees, deposit methods like cash, check, ACH, wire transfer, withdrawal methods, phone, website, branch, deposit availability, interest compounding and crediting monthly, automatic withdrawals, overdraft prohibition, and designated account beneficiary options, and the terms and conditions for both products have consistently specified that each product's rate is variable and may change at any time at Capital One's discretion. Capital One also recognized in talking points for bank associates that customers who may be a good fit for 360 Performance Savings were individuals who want savings with a competitive interest rate with no tiered structure, and individuals who want an account with no fees or minimum. In other words, 360 savings account holders. The only thing that has ever meaningfully distinguished 360 Performance Savings from 360 Savings is the former product's higher interest rate. Since 360 Performance launch, Capital One has consistently kept its interest rate higher than the 360 Savings rate, and the gap between these products' rates has grown immensely over time. As the chart in Figure 5 below shows, when Capital One launched 360 Performance in September 2019, it set the product's interest rate at 1.90%. At the time, the 360 savings interest rate was 1%. Between late 2019 and late 2020, as the federal funds rate trended downwards, then plateaued, Capital One dropped the 360 Performance rate to 0.4% and the 360 savings rate to 0.3%. As the chart in Figure 5 below further shows, when the federal funds rate steadily increased from 0.07% in January 2022 to 4.33% in January 2023, then to 5.33% in January 2024, the bank increased the 360 Performance rate from 0.4% in April 2022 to 3.3% in January 2023, and then to 4.35% in January 2024, where it remained until April 2024. During the same time period, the 360 savings rate remained at 0.30%. By August 2024, the 360 Performance rate was 4.25%, but the 360 savings rate was still at 0.30%. Hey, Sweet Jane. Yeah, I hope they lose too. That's crazy. I hope they lose too. So here's Figure 5. The 360 is, if you can see it, the blue line, which is the most flat line, where it stayed at it was kind of close to 1%, went to 1%, and then started dropping until it got, I'm guessing, to that 0.30%. And then you see the green, hold on. The green is the federal funds rate. So that's, y'all see the tall one. The tallest one's the green one. 360 Performance stayed along with, it was trailing because it's the orange one, but it trailed the green line, the federal funds rate. So they were keeping up with the market more so with the 360 Performance rate and weren't even trying with 360 savings. Since 2009, the FDIC has published the monthly average interest rates paid on U.S. savings and money market accounts based on available data. From December 2022 through at least August 2024, the 360 savings rate has remained below the national average money market account rate published by the FDIC. From December 22 through at least August 2024, the 360 savings rate has remained at or below the national average savings account interest rate published by the FDIC. Because the only material difference between 360 savings and 360 Performance has always been the latter product's higher interest rate, no reasonable consumer deciding between the two products would ever have preferred 360 savings to 360 Performance savings. I agree. Hey, J28T. Section F, Capital One obscured 360 Performance Savings existence and higher interest rate from 360 savings account holders. Capital One obscured 360 Performance Savings existence and higher interest rate from 360 savings account holders in at least 6 ways. First, Capital One did not notify 360 savings account holders that it was offering a new, nearly identical savings product with a higher interest rate, or that it was no longer offering or opening new 360 savings accounts. Rather, through emails, direct mail, and targeted advertising on its online banking platform, the bank promoted 360 Performance to existing customers who did not have a 360 savings account, including its credit card customers, checking account holders, and CD customers. So it was like, we need y'all 360 savings people to keep your money with us, not have us pay you more money, but we're going to need y'all's money to keep playing with while we attract new customers or entice customers that didn't have the high yield savings account with them. Hey, Angel One, you made it. You made it. In contrast, when Capital One increased the interest rate on its 360 money market product in 2017, it did alert 360 savings account holders to this change in a mailer, telling them it wanted our valued customers to know that they could be earning more in the 360 money market account. The mailer featured a chart comparing 360 savings and 360 money market account rates and showing, based on a range of example account balances, how much additional interest 360 savings account holders could earn in a 360 money market account. I wonder what was their benefit, Capital One's benefit, to entice them to the money market account. I know it wasn't as high as the performance, but why did they entice them at all? I wonder. I want to know. Second, Capital One gave 360 Performance Savings nearly the same name as 360 Savings, the same features, and the same terms and conditions. Third, the bank promoted 360 Performance by emphasizing the same characteristics it had emphasized when promoting 360 Savings. It marketed 360 Performance Savings as an online, high interest or high yield savings account for adults with no monthly fees, no minimum balance requirement, and a variable rate that was and would be a great rate, a top savings rate, one of the nation's top savings rates, and one of the best savings rates in America. Hey, Sweet Pea. Fourth, Capital One eliminated nearly all references to 360 savings from its website and marketing, further obscuring that 360 savings and 360 performance were two separate products. Fifth, on its website, Capital One promoted 360 Performance in ways that hid that 360 Performance was distinct from 360 Savings, suggested that the former was simply a rebranding of the latter. As detailed below, the bank replaced the website's references to 360 Savings with references to 360 Performance Savings without disclosing that 360 Savings continued to exist as a separate savings product with a lower rate. For instance, from 2013 to 360 Performance Savings launch in September 2019, Capital One's website dedicated a web page to the 360 Savings account. After 360 Performance's introduction, however, Capital One replaced that web page with one that was dedicated to the new product and did not mention 360 Savings. Hey, Diego, how are you? Thank y'all for joining me. Sweet Jane said, "Oh wow, I know." As another example, since at least November 2017, Capital One's website has had a page where consumers can view side-by-side comparisons of the bank's savings product on key criteria like their respective interest rates and fees. At different points in time, these web pages were titled Compare Savings Accounts, View All Savings Accounts, Compare All Accounts, or Compare All Accounts and Rates. In September 2019, just before Capital One launched 360 Performance, the bank's Compare Savings Account webpage appeared as shown in Figure 6 below, listing 360 Savings among its other savings products. So here's Figure 6, and they had the comparison. So you got the money market, APY up to 1.9%, 360 savings, not performance, just 360 savings, APY 1%, kids savings account 1%, 360 IRA was 1%, and 360 IRA savings Roth was 1%. The title and inclusion of multiple distinct savings accounts on this webpage implied this was a comparison of all Capital One savings products. And the webpage did indeed show all savings products Capital One offered just before it launched 360 Performance. As shown in Figure 7 below, after 360 Performance's launch, Capital One replaced the information panel for 360 Savings on its Compare Savings Accounts webpage with a virtually identical information panel for 360 Performance. So they just booted 360 Savings, pretended as if only 360 Performance Savings existed, and showing that it had no minimum balance requirement and no fees. Capital One did not disclose that 360 Performance was a different product from 360 Savings, or that 360 Savings continued to exist as a savings product that Capital One account holders still used. So you basically had no incentive, initiative, or anything to change the performance, because you probably saw the 360, thought that was still yours, and thought you were earning the APY that it was showing on there. So now for this one, it shows 360 Performance Savings at 1.9%, Kids Account 1%, 360 Traditional IRA 1%, Roth IRA 1%. And there's no 360 Savings by itself also as a comparison, which at this point, would it have been at 1% or 0.3%? It was going down. The same is true of all other Capital One web pages designed to allow consumers to compare the bank's savings products. After 360 Performance's launch, Capital One simply substituted 360 Performance for 360 Savings on these pages without disclosing that they were different products or otherwise referencing 360 Savings. Similarly, until 360 Performance's launch, Capital One's website featured an FAQ webpage for 360 Savings. After 360 Performance launched, Capital One replaced this webpage with a similar FAQ webpage for 360 Performance. Both FAQ webpages had the same format, nearly the same title, and used the same promotional language. Quote, unlock everything you need to know to open a 360 insert performance savings account today. Although the 360 Performance Savings FAQs included a few questions not included in the 360 Savings FAQs, neither its questions nor its answers disclosed that 360 Performance was not the same product as 360 Savings. And yet, the 360 Performance Savings FAQs did include and answer the question, what's the difference between a 360 Performance account and a 360 CD account? Instead, the 360 Savings and 360 Performance FAQs suggested the two products were one and the same. As both sets of FAQs explained, both products were online savings accounts and had no monthly fees or minimum balance requirement, had a limit of 6 withdrawals per month, permitted transfers via a mobile app or automatic savings plan, could have up to 10 individuals as payable on death beneficiaries, and could be opened online or at a bank location, among other features. Finally, Capital One obscured the fact that 360 Performance was a distinct product with a higher interest rate from 360 Savings account holders by prohibiting bank employees from sharing such information with 360 Savings account holders outside of very limited circumstances. Miss Lady One said, I definitely need to check mine because I have 2 accounts. I have the teen account with my granddaughter as well. Check. Just check. What they are showing is that with the new product, the performance one, they are following the market closely. So it has a benefit. So yeah, check and see what you have in case you're like, I'm not at the point where I would switch the bank, but I also don't want to be over here earning the lower interest rate. And if you are on the lower one, join the thing if there's a settlement. For example, the bank told frontline ambassadors, associates who work in the bank's physical branches, they must not proactively mention the ability to convert 360 savings accounts to 360 performance accounts to customers. Similarly, the bank forbade its ambassadors from forwarding 360 savings account holders to Bank Voice, the bank's unit that handles account conversions, unless the account holders ask directly about the ability to convert accounts. Wow. Likewise, the bank instructed its employees to only be reactive in mentioning 360 Performance Savings to the 360 Savings account holders. It further told employees that they could only offer the option to convert a 360 Savings account to a 360 Performance Savings account in 4 scenarios, each of which involved a 360 Savings account holder who was already aware that 360 Performance Savings was a distinct product from 360 Savings, or was expressly unhappy about their 360 savings interest rate. As a consequence of Capital One's efforts to obscure the difference between 360 performance and 360 savings from 360 savings account holders, it was reasonable for 360 savings account holders to not know Capital One was offering a new savings product identical to 360 savings in all ways other than its highest interest rate or higher interest rate, believe their 360 savings accounts were 360 performance savings accounts, and therefore assume they were receiving the 360 performance savings interest rate that Capital One advertised, or not understand that the 360 savings accounts interest rate no longer fulfilled Capital One's representations about the rate it would offer for 360 savings. Even though 360 savings accounts holders had no reason to prefer 360 savings to a 360 performance, fewer than a quarter of consumers who held 360 savings accounts as of the date of the new product's launch in September 2019 had opened a 360 performance account as of July 2024. So 25% of consumers that had the old account converted to the new account with a better interest rate. Capital One profited from obscuring 360 Performance existence as a distinct product with a higher interest rate. Yes, I agree. Capital One has avoided paying millions of 360 savings account holders more than $2 billion in interest it would have had to pay them had they opened a performance account. Count one. So this is where I won't read the whole thing because now we see the case. So now we're just going to see the counts against them, though. So count one is violation of the CFPA abusive acts and practices against all defendants. Okay. And I'm not going to reread it because the factual allegations mostly lays it out in my opinion, so I won't reread it. Count two, violation of the CFPA, deceptive acts and practices. Capital One falsely represented that 360 Savings was and would be the bank's only high interest savings product of its kind. Count three, violation of the CFPA, deceptive acts and practices. Capital One misrepresented the 360 Savings rate. Count four, violation of TISA and Regulation DD against Kona. Kona's advertisements for 360 savings included misleading and inaccurate representations about the 360 savings rate. Count five, violation of the CFPA by violating TISA and Regulation DD. They didn't put anything in italics, so I don't have one for that one, but we'll keep going. So the prayer for relief. So this is what they want to make it right. Permanently enjoin defendants from committing future violations of the CFPA, TISA, and Regulation DD. Grant such additional injunctive relief as the court deems just and proper. Award such monetary relief as the court finds necessary to redress injury to consumers resulting from Capital One's violations, including but not limited to restitution, disgorgement, so getting back the funds that they gorged themselves on in the first place, or compensation for unjust enrichment and payment of damages. Hey, a woman of strength. It has been a while. I'm glad to see you. Impose civil money penalties against defendants under 12 USC 5565C. Award the Bureau its costs in bringing this action and award additional relief as the court deems just and proper. So again, here's the demand for the jury trial. And here are the I won't say it. I'm going to say we'll name all of it. So, respectfully submitted by Eric Halperin, Enforcement Director, Thomas Kim, Deputy Enforcement Director, Zach Mason, Assistant Deputy Enforcement Director. And then here's the counsel, Senior Litigation Counsel, Tassidy Johnson. I like that name. Jamie Renner, Wesley B. Ward, who is an enforcement attorney. We have Kara K. Miller, Assistant Deputy Enforcement Director, Local Counsel. And then they have the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. So I would start there to make sure you actually reach out to the reputable source. Start with, and I actually have an article open about what you should do if you think this happened to you. So let me just go to that. Let me see if it's on here. Hold on. Let me see. Okay, it says prepare for potential compensation if the CFPB's lawsuit is successful. Affected consumers may be eligible for compensation while it's too early. What does it say? To know the outcome, keep records of your Capital One. I went too far. Hold on. Sorry, y'all. I've made it too big. I made it too big and I lost my spot. Hold on. Oh, here it goes. Keep records of your Capital One savings accounts, including account statements, interest rate notifications, any communication with Capital One about your accounts. These documents could be helpful if you need to file a claim in the future. If you have online access, go back as far as you can and go ahead and get your statements and whatever else you need, because Capital One with the lawsuit, they going the stuff might not be there, so just get it while you can. And I'm trying to see, I thought one said where you can contact them. Hold on. I see whistleblowers. I would start by contacting the CFPB and let them direct you to where you need to stay in tune to, and if there's a settlement where you get your part of the claim. I would do that. That way it's less likely someone's gonna be scamming, because I do feel like people are out here, they will look like, oh, we know people will submit their information because there's a possible settlement coming. And so I would just start with contacting the CFPB, which is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, directly. Look on their page. They might already have what you need to do. Start there, though. Don't just go to any random website, just in case. Just in case. Be safe out there, But that is the Capital One lawsuit. I hope y'all enjoyed that. Like Val B said, it's been a while. I will be on the lookout for more like these, and civil and criminal, So as long as I can look at the documents, I like it. I like going over it. So thank y'all for your company. We kept this under an hour. It's not bad at all. But okay, y'all. I'll see you soon. I want to pack some of my keychain packages with y'all, like on camera. It'll be in my desk because it's a small thing. It won't be anything crazy. But my keychains did come in. They're sitting right here, and I wanted to open them up and look at them with y'all. So, and then I got to pack them for my people that had pre-orders. So hopefully you'll see a live notifying you of that this weekend. But I enjoyed y'all. Shout out to my reasonable doubters on legal at some point side, and my trendies on the trending at some point side. Thank you. You hung in there, little sis. All right, y'all. I will see you soon. Talk to you later. Bye.